Hey folks, my name's Graham. I am a variety streamer over at twitch.tv/Graham Plays. I also make YouTube videos like this one where I talk about anything in the gaming industry which happens to catch my eye. This week I wanted to have a little chat about VR. There's been a lot of talk about VR over the last week or so, with PlayStation confirming that they are working on a new VR headset for PlayStation 5. They then announced the new dedicated controller for that headset, and then after that there was rumours flying about that Microsoft are also working on potentially getting into VR when it previously looked like they had no interest in that, so that is all very exciting. Now, I'm a big advocate of VR. I was always one of those kids who dreamed of like a Sword Art Online, Ready Player One-esque world where fucking someone jacks into your brain and you're just like living in the game basically. So yeah, VR excites me and I want to see it take off and go from sort of strength to strength. So with all the sort of juicy VR news flying about, I wanted to talk about what I think the biggest challenge facing VR is, if it's ever going to take off in any sort of really meaningful sense, and if we're ever going to get towards that dream that I personally have of, as I say, like a Ready Player One style world where you're living inside games. And in my opinion, the biggest challenge that is facing VR above anything else is not the cost or the sort of barrier to entry, or the space requirement that you need, or cables running from units, or any of this stuff. It's not even motion sickness. For me, the biggest challenge that faces VR, and has always faced VR from the start, is traversal / movement. VR, in my opinion, has a massive problem both at a system design level and an individual game design level with traversal and movement inside games and anything that you're not in a cockpit setting. So VR is great if you're playing a game where your sort of avatar or proxy in the game is sitting in a chair, then it works massively well. But anything where you are standing, moving, running, jumping, climbing, anything like that, VR really, really struggles with, and struggles specifically with making it feel good and immersive and not completely immersion breaking. And for me, that's the biggest challenge, solving that design problem. So let's take a look at why I think this is a problem, and in order to do that, I think we need to look at some of the solutions that developers have tried to actually implement so far and why they haven't worked. So firstly, you have just using a normal controller, either standing or sitting, holding your DualShock or your Xbox controller in your lap or in your hands. Whilst that's like okay, to me it's sort of, it's hamstringing quite a lot of the potential that I think I envisage when I think about VR. And VR to me is at its best when you're using your hands to like reach out and grab things and pick things up and throw things and actually like aim. For me, that's a fundamental part of the whole point of VR, is having that total level of immersion. So for me to just sit and hold a controller in the way I normally would, at that point I would rather be just fucking playing on a TV screen. Next, you have games that are either stationary or on rails, so there's like a million fucking VR shooting gallery games, which are fun, like it's totally fun as like your first experience of VR, is like a short demo. If someone's never played a game in VR before, you sit down and play one of these shooting gallery games with them, and it will still blow their mind because the world will sort of pop up round about them, and they'll be physically aiming or whatever to hit shots, and that will still amaze them, but that very quickly becomes old, and you just can't. Nobody's going to sit and put 20, 30, 40 hours plus into a shitty game that's on rails. It's just not going to happen. It's never going to take off in any meaningful sense. Another alternative we've had is games have tried to implement various forms of like teleportation systems. So for me, using the PSVR, if I'm holding Move controllers in my hand, I would like hold in a button, point to where I want my character to teleport, and a sort of beam of light would come up, and then when I let go of the button, my guy teleports to that place in the world. I'd say this is probably quite similar to being on rails for me, in that this is okay for like shorter kind of demo experiences where I've not really played VR before, and if this is my first experience of it, then yeah, it's okay, but it gets old pretty quickly. At the end of the day, if I'm going to spend most of my gaming time in VR, if it's going to really take off, be mainstream, I'm going to spend most of my gaming time in VR, then I'm going to want to be playing experiences that are on par to Call of Duty, Apex Legends, just to name a couple of things that I've been playing recently. And you're never going to get a VR Call of Duty game where you're teleporting about the map. It's just not viable. And then as VR ages, what we've seen a lot more of, and what looks like we're going to see with the new PlayStation VR headset, is custom controllers that aren't just DualShocks or Xbox controllers, that are actually built, for hand tracking and things like that, and have analog sticks or whatever built into them for movement, which I think is better than anything else that I've talked about up until this point. But for me, it still doesn't quite cut the mustard. Like, up until now, I would wager that if you pitted me and VR against someone of equal skill to me in a game who was sitting at a TV with a conventional controller, they'd be fucking much better than me at it. They'd be much more efficient than me at it. So for me, it's still not quite there. And you've still got the fundamental issue. Again, if we're talking about pie in the sky, Sword Art Online, Ready Player One world, you've still got the problem of the bottom half of your body tracking, running and jumping and crouching and rolling and sliding and all that garbage, which is a problem with room scale VR as well. Is like, it offers some degree of movement, but not enough for it to ever really reach the potential that it could reach. And speaking of, room scale VR experiences, I think the fundamental issue with that is that a lot of people don't have the space for it. So even the games that do work, where you're just walking about, like you manage movement by having you just walk about a fairly small space, a lot of people don't even have that to spare. And again, it still doesn't get you that level of experience you see in traditional games just now with running, sliding, jumping, blah blah blah. And so to circle back to my original point in terms of why I think this is the biggest challenge facing VR, it's because in my mind there is no sort of natural evolution of technology that gets us to a point where this problem just kind of organically is solved. So, like things like the motion sickness issue, or the strain having the screens fucking right up to your face puts on your eyes, stuff like that. Will, in my mind, I could be totally wrong on this, but in my mind will kind of naturally start to get solved as technology progresses and increases in quality and becomes more affordable. This will take an active design solution. It will take someone sitting down specifically to solve this problem and innovating on it in a way that I'm not clever enough to actually think of the solution for just now.